Hi, everybody, and welcome. I have a tendency to speak too fast, so if you see me doing that, just please stop me, okay? And good morning, everybody. So let's feel the crowd. How many of you have expanded into new markets in your career? Raise of hands, please. All right. How many of you have done it with a physical product? Okay, a bit less. How many of you have done it in less than 100 days? Okay, then we do pointers, and correct me when I do the presentation. Okay, maybe a little bit about myself. So I am Dijana Dimitrovska. I'm the marketing MD for Marley Spoon, and I've been working for this company for 3.5 years. So I started working as a performance marketing manager, so doing paid social, and then I became the head of paid social. Actually, that's my boss there, and that's my colleague there, my ex-boss. And then I got this opportunity to become the MD for marketing for Europe. So what happened was I got this opportunity, I went on vacation to Brazil, I came back, and the first thing that happened was we have a problem statement, like any good story, that we need to grow. We need to grow the market. This is basically everything that happens to every time this happens to marketeers. We need to figure out how to go about it, right? So there are a couple of different ways that we thought how to go about it. One is to use your marketing activities for more upper funnel activities, right? So you start investing in more upper funnel, you go offline, you go super upper funnel online. Another way to do an expansion is to expand into new markets, which is what I'm going to talk about. Another way to do an expansion is to expand your product portfolio, right? So when it comes to our product, about Marley Spoon, what we do is we bring delightful, fresh, and easy cooking back to the people while building a sustainable supply chain for a waste-free world. So when you think about our product, the way that we think about it is that there is no way that this product doesn't grow. Because who doesn't like food, right? I mean, from this audience, who likes eating in general? Raise of hands. Okay. Who likes to cook? Okay, choose your partners wisely. Who has used the meal kit delivery service before? Okay. And who has heard of Marley Spoon? Okay, I'll take that. So basically the way that we look at it, those people that heard of meal kit delivery service, and those people that like to cook, like this is our target audience, because everybody kind of wants to eat. So this is the way that we think about our product. Anybody that likes cooking should be able to cook with us, because we believe that the way that we cook, the way that we do our product, is the best way to cook. Now, why do we think it's the best way to cook? Because we have our research and development department, which is basically our culinary department, our chefs and our nutritionists. They create more than 20 different recipes every week that we try to offer to customers. The way that we go about it, we try to find the best recipes for every type of customer, for every type of palate, for every type of cooking. So we do this, customers come to our platform, they subscribe, and they choose their recipes. Then we make sure that we find the freshest ingredients, the best suppliers, and we deliver pre-portioned ingredients in the way that you would cook with the best ease in less than 30 minutes directly to your door. So basically, the only thing a person should do that likes cooking is to get rid of all of the hassle and just focus on the taste and enjoying the cooking time and the eating time with their partners or their family or their friends or whomever. So coming back to the topic, how to choose where to expand. So I basically opened a map, and by open a map, I mean I went to Google Maps, and I looked at Europe. I was like, okay, these are the countries that I think that I can expand. But this doesn't really go well in boardrooms. So what happened next, I had to develop a way to figure out where to go and how to expand. So I kind of So I kind of figure out 4 different areas that I needed to focus on in order to figure out which from these countries I was supposed to expand. When I first looked at the map, I had around 8 countries that I thought were viable and thought they were a good idea. And then I started looking at these 4 different things: market potential, industry and marketing, quality of product, and unit economics. If you just want to translate it into pure marketing speech, it's basically deepest analysis, so demographic, economical, political, environmental, societal, technological analysis of the market. That's for the market potential. Then for industry and marketing is like competitor research and Porter's 5 forces, like smaller version, SWOT analysis when it comes to quality on products, and unit economics. But I'm not going to go into all of them. Let's focus first on the market potential. How do you go about it? Because half of my countries dropped when I was done with the market potential. So the first thing that I looked into was population size. The thing about the population size that was not that important for me because my product is actually used by at least 2 people, but also families. So I don't care about population size as much as I also care about the average household size to be able to determine how big is my target audience. Now, after looking into that, you see things like GDP, also doesn't matter too much to me. I do care about the average salary though, especially if I can find the average salary of a household. After looking at that, you see things like unemployment rate and etc. But what was really interesting for us as an online business is what is the internet adoption. Now, this is very high in most of the European countries, or for example, where I come from, which is Macedonia, the internet adoption is super high, but nobody buys online. So the next thing I want to know is, okay, how much are people used to buying online and ordering online, especially when it came to food? Then you look at different things, like the cost of living, like how expensive is it? How much of this average salary do people spend on what? And then for me came the most interesting part, which was the grocery index, which is to say how expensive it is to buy food at different supermarkets. You know that feeling when you go to different countries and you compare the products, you know, like you want to say how much is milk and how much is eggs. So that's basically that without going to different supermarkets, but actually Googling it. And then I want to check the restaurant index. So when you think about other substitutes for a product, people can go to the supermarkets and buy it themselves, but they can also go to a restaurant and actually take food. So what I wanted to see is how would our product fit into the landscape of this country. So after doing this, from 8 countries, we went down to 4 countries. The next thing to do was to figure out the industry and the marketing. So the first thing when it comes to the industry was to figure out the maturity. So basic question of, are meal kits a thing here? Do people care about it? Do people know what a meal kit is? Am I supposed to spend a lot of money about educating the market about this product or not? Do people search for it? Is there interest for it? When they search for it, do they search meal kit or do they search food boxes or do they have advanced preferences about how this product is supposed to be? So you check how people search, you check what is written in the media, you check what is written in any place that you can find, and when you do this, you often get to know the competition. The second part is looking very deeply into the competition. What do they do? How do they go about it? What kind of product do they offer? Can you learn something from them about what kind of product you should offer? What are people used to when it comes to this kind of products or this kind of industry? What are the prices? How do they make it work? So this part is actually also very interesting, or like one of my most interesting parts. And the one that I was most comfortable with was the advertising potential. So it's great that there is an industry or not. It's great that there is such competition or not, but also you want to know whether you can advertise there and how expensive or how cheap would it be, right? So when you look at the advertising potential, you look at the normal metrics, like you see the Google search trends, you see CPM, you see CTRs, conversion rates, assumptions. You try to assume what your cost per acquisition would be or per new customers. And what you also want to see here is what is the channel mix that is good for the market? How are people used to converting? Can you do it online? Do you need to do it offline? Do you need to engage in something else? Do you need to enter the market with influencer marketing? Do you have the people that know how to market in this market? You know, who know how to advertise? Do you need to buy that knowledge somewhere and hire somebody who knows how to do that? So this is what we did at this stage. Now, after seeing all of this, after knowing all of this, what we care about figuring out is, okay, oops, too fast, the quality of product. So how should we go about it? Since I spoiled it. The 2 things that we looked at here is the product versus the market and the brand versus the market. Now, what does that mean? If I look at the market and how it works, and if I look at my competition in the industry, can I just launch my product? Does it have too many features? Is it too complicated? Should I simplify it? Or do my competitors have features that are better than mine, so I need to advance my product? And then when I look at that, how do I want to go about my brand? Do I want to have the same brand in all European countries? Do I need to have a specific one that works better locally? And is there a niche that I can find in my positioning? Do I want to find that niche in my positioning across the competition? So at the previous stage, when we were doing the market potential, one country dropped out. At this stage, we still have 3 countries that are running up, and one is going to drop out in the next one. And the next one is the fun one, because it has to do with dealing with finance. So when it comes to the unit economics, there are, the way that we saw it, 2 ways to go about it. So bottom up and top down. If we have figured out what is the best positioning for our product, how do we want to go about our quality of product, then we need to calculate whether this makes sense, right? So the bottom up is kind of the finance approach, which says, okay, this is a contribution margin, this is the profitability that we want to have. How much can you actually price your product and whether you can sell that? The other way to go about it is that we have our brand positioning, we have our competitive landscape, we have our quality of product and what we think the value is, the perceived value for the customers. And then we spit out the contribution margin that's going to happen based on our assessments. So when it comes to figuring out which one to do, I just do both and see where you land, because you might learn something from both. So having done all of this, it's just easy, right? So that's that. We just kind of expand. Well, this is where the 100 days actually started kicking in, because everything before is just the research phase, because after, like, at this point you might also figure out that, yeah, okay, this doesn't make sense for us right now. But this is where the whole thing starts. So the first thing I had to do, or I had to make my case, my business case for the board. So this was a very sweaty afternoon, but that happened. The more important than convincing the board is getting the team on board. So when it comes to expanding into a new country for a product like ours, imagine I had to convince 10 departments to be like, this is a good idea and this is not going to take a lot of your time and a lot of your goals. We just put it on top. So getting the team on board was very vital. The way to go about it is to be very clear, to have an awesome kickoff meeting where you explain the process, the thought, the way we did it, to explain the thought process about why is this a good idea, how we're going to do it, how we're going to make it, and listen to the different opinions and dependencies that every department has, and try to incorporate this into their goals. Now, to do that properly, because this kind of projects has to do with digital, operations, finance, and every other department. To do this properly, I wanted to designate a sub-project leads. So I don't have the knowledge to completely run this project from a digital perspective, but my PM does. So basically what I did, I designated different sub-project leads that had kind of the full authorities to make decisions that would go towards the goal. What we would do, we would meet up once a week and kind of figure out how we wanted to continue afterwards. When we've designated these sub-project leads, the next thing that we did is we jointly devised the critical path. When you get people into the room to commit to the challenges that they have and to the different tasks that are critical to making this project work, and when they sign on it and when they put their own deadlines, that's when you can have a very good commitment to what is supposed to happen. So we brought down every critical thing that had to happen in order for this project to be a success. That had to do with websites being live, different prices, different shippers, like very various things. There were around, yeah, I'll tell you later how many. But we jointly devised a critical path, and every team member from the whole company and every department had visibility and committed to do it. And then it was a matter of keeping up the frequency. So there was this point that I skipped there, which was set up the rules, which I think is very important also when it comes to keeping up the frequency, which was to determine the modes of communication and how we're going to go about it. So I hate emails. So the mode of communication for us was a Slack channel. It was called EU expansion, and everybody that had to say anything, any update, was supposed to go there, and that's where the discussion was, in order for everybody to see it and to see whether that influences something that they were doing. Another one was this Google Sheet, which was the source of all information. It was also creatively called EU expansion, and everything that we did for this project was there. So from every department, anything that had anything to do with it, would put all of their things, all of their assets, all of their tasks, all of their information there. So this is how we set it up. And then what happened next? A couple of numbers there, they're not the ones that you're used to. So 63 was the number of people that opened that Google Sheet. That is to say that 63 people at least worked on this expansion from the whole company. Just like FYI, in Berlin, we're around 150 people, so that's a nice chunk of people there. Out of these 63 people, that used this sheet, there were 23 sheets that were connected to it. So you know other sources of information, but it was still all in one place. There were 33 items on the critical path, things that absolutely had to happen for us to have this expansion. 105 is the actual number of days that it took, but it was actually not, I don't know, it sounds weird to say how to expand to new market in 105 days, so I cut it down to 100. And then 19 was the number of meetings that we have for all of this. So to actually be able to keep up the frequency, meetings with the designated sub-leads. Now, everybody was also, the meeting was open to everybody else, but the expectation was that the leads would come and have an update from their department. And one stands for one team, which is a cliche, but also for one goal. When it comes to this kind of big projects that affect every part of the company, you do really want to make sure that everybody moves together as a team and they have one specific goal, because otherwise things get messy. So, did I tell you where we expanded? So we expanded in Denmark. So that was the country that we chose in the end. How did we go about it? The marketing part. We started 2 weeks before the launch date with a lead generation campaign, right? So we opened it up most of the display channels, and we had 3 different kind of approaches. So one was like, something new is coming, something new is brewing, there's a new meal kit on the block. The other one was Marley Spoon meal kit, very performance driven. And the third one was like a raffle that we wanted to try out just in case. So anyway, this really helped us for us to be able to kick out our email activities. And then as soon as we launched, we started doing our Facebook advertising, our Instagram, so basically everything that was possible online to do it. However, online is not enough, or is not exactly the only thing that we wanted to do. We also wanted to get the word out there. Because for our industry in Denmark, there was nothing new happening for a while. And the way that competitors have their meal kits there is that you choose kind of plans instead of recipes. So you choose whether you want to eat, I don't know, vegetarian or pescatarian or gluten-free or low carb, and then you cannot choose your recipes. As opposed to us, where you can choose all of your recipes, is basically decide how you want to eat. So that's why we reached out to the media, and we got really nice coverage in 2 out of 3 biggest newspapers that are in Denmark. And then I got these pictures from the boxes being built from our facility, because I was pushing them really hard to send me these pictures to make sure that actually the boxes were there. So basically, all in all, this whole thing, the way I saw it, and from the company perspective, was quite a success. Now, in terms of the lessons, how to go about this, it is a big project, sure, but kind of when you do it once, it's easier to do it again. When you have a team that is gathered together behind one goal, when you have processes in place, when you have everything to make this successful, and you actually made it successful, it's just easy to do it again. That's why 2 weeks ago we also launched in Sweden. In order to do this one, it took way less time. We did it in like 4 weeks. Those meetings that we had that used to last for like 1 hour, in this case lasted for like 15 minutes. Because everybody was aligned, everybody knew what they were supposed to do, and everybody knew what the goal was. So communication was effectively just very easy. So that's that from my side. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions.
Well, thank you very much already for sharing your insights. I'm sure there are a lot of questions here. So who wants to be the first one to open with a question? Yes, thank you very much. I come to you. Exactly.
Hi. Working? Yes, okay. What was the ratio once you went live between high funnel, lead gen, and conversions?
Can you repeat it a little bit louder? Between high funnel and, or upper funnel and?
Upper funnel and mid funnel, lower funnel. So awareness campaigns, lead generation campaigns, and then the conversions, more or less.
Yeah, and performance campaigns. Yeah, so it was mostly upper funnel, so 90%, actually not even more. In the first couple of weeks, it was like 100% upper funnel brand awareness, lead generation, and all of that. Because nobody knew us, so basically you have to spend your money on that. And then we always have this performance running in the background just in case, as we see usually that they tend to kind of even up after some time, up until you get to that place that you can really just run performance campaigns. But even now, it's kind of like 60-40 towards the brand awareness versus the performance. And I see that being like that for at least a couple of more months. It kind of depends on the industry, but I perceive that being like that 3 to 6 months where you need to spend most of your budget on upper funnel activities versus performance ones. And your conversions coming from there. Does that answer your question? Follow up.
Yes, so the next question was, when does it turn profitable? Like, do you already see from putting 60 to 90% into upper funnel, into awareness, do you already see, revenue growing?
I think that really depends how you look at it. For us, like we have a business that is profitable, like every conversion that we make, we want to make it profitable after 6 months. So sometimes you can move back and forth from that one. You can add a couple of months when you're starting out, but the goal would always be that one, for us. It really depends from the business.
Yes? Okay, thank you very much. Then I move on here.
Hi, thank you. When you're entering the new market like Denmark, then are you considering to have a new operation center, or do you ship out from one place to the other country?
I think you can do either. So I think you can do either. When we thought about this, we wanted to start it off as a European kind of hub, because to utilize the unit economics and to be able to have less waste in terms of everything. However, I would never say that we wouldn't build an operation facility there. Because if that's what is needed, if we can provide better service and it's something that makes sense, I don't see why not. So, not for now, but why not in the future?
Question answered? All right. So, I stay here and then I come over there, all right?
Hi. You moved very quickly from the planning phase to the execution phase.
That's how we do it.
It'd be good to understand as well some of the process you went through to translate your websites, to build a team for Denmark if you did, some of the cross-border solutions around payments and logistics and things like that. Not all of those things, but it'd be good just to talk through some of the steps that you went through to do that.
Yeah, that for us was in the execution phase. So from the planning phase was everything to figure out whether this made sense. And the things that you're talking about in terms of payment providers, building the website, getting people on board, hiring new talent, that was all in the execution phase, the way that we set it up. Because that was like one of my critical tasks was hire a person that knows Danish.
Any tips on doing that in under 100 days? Because building a website, translating it, setting up logistics, payments, all of that stuff usually takes much longer than 100 days.
Get your team on board. There are people in your company that probably will know how to do it faster. Motivate them to do it and keep up the frequency, really, because that's the best advice I can give you.
Did you partner with anyone to do that, or you did it all in-house?
No, we did it all in-house. Yeah. I'm telling you, 63 people, that was a lot of work. I mean, you can do it with less people and for a longer amount of time, right? That also works.
Like, get a good team together. That's probably a very good advice, like for most of the cases. So I think over here, right?
Yeah, very interesting. One question in regards to giveaway campaigns. How did they perform in terms of ultimate conversions compared to your other lead gen top of funnel activities you did? So
Sorry?
giveaway campaigns and ultimate purchase conversions.
A giveaway campaign.
You mentioned giveaway campaigns as part of your lead gen activities in the beginning.
Yeah, so
before market entry.
Yeah, so in the end, when it comes to the raffles, the giveaway, the lead generation, etc., so we did generate quite a lot of leads from them, but in the end, in terms of how they perform, the performance ones always won in terms of the conversion rate and in terms of the quality of the conversions. Because in my experience here and then in general, is that when people are incentivized with giveaways or stuff like that to convert, they're probably not your best customers. It's good to get the word out, and this is what we wanted to do. But when it comes to good quality customers, the way that I go about it, or we as a team go about it, is to be absolutely honest about your product, build a good product, and communicate it well in a way that the audience wants to hear it.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you very much. So
Have
we
one
have.
behind Bastian.
All right, okay. So we have 10 minutes in between the talks to switch stages. So we have a couple of more questions here.
Hi, I have a question regarding your paid social strategy and how you made the assets and what campaign objectives you used. Did you use best practices in other countries, or did you look at your competitors perhaps in Denmark and use that as a strategy?
Both. So we looked at competitors, so how they're advertising to kind of get their knowledge, because some of them are local ones, so we kind of assumed that they would know better. That's one. The second one is our best practices from opening markets before and from advertising in general when it comes to what kind of creative, what kind of meals, so the actual content of the assets. And the third one was general best practices on how to advertise in this country, which was a bit of a desk research. So kind of the combination of the three ones. And then we really wanted to put an accent of the color to be recognizable, so this was kind of the recurring theme.
And in terms of your messaging on all these assets, did you focus on like, hi, we're introducing ourselves into the market, or did you just focus on general ad copies which are very similar to the ones in your other markets, which show your USPs and your general
Yeah, we
selling
tested
points?
it. So we did both. So we started with upper funnel being like, something new is coming, very exciting meal kit, and then we were like, this is the voucher discount for us. So we did both. And I would always recommend to do all of them and both.
All right, thank you. Yes, I run over there. So I think we have enough time for this question and another question afterwards. Thank you.
I love the engagement, by the way.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm wondering why you didn't decide to expand to the UK first. That's usually the obvious option for American companies. Maybe it's,
Because of Brexit. No, actually.
No. I mean, I get that. The second question is, or let's just stick to the first one for now.
Yeah, okay. We used to be in the UK, so we used to have our business there. We closed it down because the quality of the customer was not up to what we wanted. So we used to have a market there in 2017, yeah. So we were there, it didn't make sense for us.
Cool. And the second question, how did you define the success criteria for the 100 days? Was it just the expansion, or did you define some KPIs through which you would then, pursue?
So what were the KPIs that would deem this project successful, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a KPI of X amount of orders that I'm supposed to get for X amount of time, because our KPIs is orders. And for the rest of the KPIs, I kind of promised that they would be at least as good as the European average. So the average box size, so the ratings for the dishes, so any other KPIs that we judge the rest of the markets for, these ones should be at least as good, so they can't fall behind. And then I cannot tell you exactly how much, but that's okay, right?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I love the engagement as well. We have time for one last question, otherwise I'm sure you will be available for questions
We
afterwards.
have 1 minute, so.
Thank you.
How big is the part which is local, and how big is the part which you can adapt to every country more or
Sorry, I
less the
can't
same?
hear you. Can you repeat the same?
Yeah. How much of the product is local, like adapted, and how much of the part is what you can do in every country? Let's say Danish people eat, I don't know what they eat, köttbullar. How much, köttbullar you have to put in general?
So that's the point of the quality of product. It's really up to us to decide how do we want to go about it and whether our assumptions would be correct. So you can make 100% local product. Can you market it? Like, does it make sense for you? You can make 0% like local. No? Okay.
No, not how much local product you use, how much you have to adapt to local customs. Can you
It
can
is
you
the
take
same.
the German bag all across the country? Doesn't matter where the product comes from.
Okay. Yeah, it is the same. When you think about our product, I think about the recipes, because that's in the end what people consume, right? So the question for me, the way that we localize our product by offering the recipes for the market. And the answer is very similar. So it really depends. You can go with no localization whatsoever. You can start testing more local recipes in our particular case and see whether that brings you better results or not. So it's really a matter of a decision and testing hypothesis.